Mildred, Mildred, what you gonna do? Mildred, Mildred, what you gonna do when the people say, ooh, ooh, ooh? Mildred, Mildred, ooh.
Mildred, Mildred, what you gonna do when the people say, ooh, ooh, ooh? That's not a question that I would necessarily ask if I were to encounter this Mildred. However, there's Fritzy Moshbender. For those of you who have not frequented the channel very much, Fritzy Moshbender is the personage who uh, creates the audio portion of the beginning of the video, right before I come on, whatever you hear when it says, what is this relating small and all that. What you hear is the creation from the mind of one Fritzy Moshbender, younger brother of Zeus Moshbender, founder of the Zeus Moshbender channel. And Fritzy, going downtown, beating the ant, who? He found it necessary to ask Mildred, what you gonna do when the people say, ooh, ooh, ooh? So, Fritzy, tell us, what was her answer? What did Mildred say that she's gonna do when the people say, ooh, ooh, ooh?
I don't know. I forgot. And now I'm going outside and get a hot dog.
To live in his world, 5 minutes. What is this? What is this? How you doing, folks? Lame Schmull here. Coming to you from FEMA Region number 3. But fear not. I haven't forgotten Mildred. I have not forgotten you, Mildred. Oh, no. And if I were to ask you a question, I think I might ask you this. Mildred, Mildred, what you gonna do when the people say... And you better figure out what you're gonna do real soon, Mildred, because you're gonna be hearing folks saying peace and safety a lot more in the coming weeks. Oh yeah, why's that, Leben? That's why, Leben. For 10 straight days between July 18th and the 28th at these so-called conventions, we're gonna be hearing all sorts of important people proclaiming how their candidate is going to bring about peace and safety. I mean, come on now. How can America be made great again if it is not made peaceful and safe? Eh? And this one here? Oh, come on, we already know about this one. We know all about this one. This tree is certainly known by the fruit hanging from its branches. She ain't deceiving anyone. She ain't hiding nothing. So forget about her with regards to wondering what she'll do. We know what she's gonna do. It's this one here that I'm wondering about. Who is this guy for real, huh? Think on this, my friends. Here is a man that the world should absolutely be fawning over. He's got millions of dollars, jet planes, skyscrapers, casinos. Celebrities were clamoring to get on that highly rated TV show that he had on NBC. NBC, the most liberal of the 3 major networks. And everybody hates him. The world of money, power, and fame that this man epitomizes is absolutely demonizing him on the air and in print at every turn. Figure that one out, Mildred. So who's gonna vote for this guy? The Christians. He's already said he's fine with the perverts going into the ladies' room. He's already said that there are some good elements of Planned Parenthood, but the liberals hate him, and the so-called Christian right love him. Hey, Mildred, Have you forgotten all about Mr. Trump's assessment of old Jorge of Rome?
I have a lot of respect for the Pope. I think he's got a lot of personality. He's very different. He's a very different kind of a guy. And I think he's doing a very good job.
So, Mildred, unless Mr. Half-White comes up with a plan for martial law between now and January 20th, these are your choices. One of these two is going to stand in front of this. The living word of Elohim is going to be placed before them. And one of these two will be the very first person to place the hand on the living word of the Almighty and swear on it to uphold a law that says that a man has the right to marry another man and a woman has the right to marry another woman. And we don't know where it's going to go from there. Friends, I'm going to reiterate again my personal stance with regard to voting / giving my support to one of these two people. Two people who, when the time comes, if it comes, will have no qualms about swearing to the Lamb who died for their sins to uphold a law that is an abomination to him. I don't know about anyone else. I will not speak for anyone else, but I have been saved from eternal separation from my Father, Yahweh, when my sins were covered by the blood of his only begotten Son, Yeshua. My sins were covered by the blood that he shed on the cross. And to support and or vote for a person who believes that Yeshua also died so that homosexuals could marry, to support and or cast a vote for anyone who actually believes that two people of the same sex marrying would be something that would be blessed and approved of in the sight of the Lamb who took away our sin, would be a betrayal of him equal to that of Judas Iscariot. Now, like I said before, I'm not speaking for anyone else. That's just how I feel. If there are those who believe that voting is some sort of required civic duty that honors Elohim, even if it entails voting for someone who will uphold these things, well, I believe that's something that you'll have to take up at a later date with the Creator. However, I will tell you right now that when Yeshua said, "Render to Caesar what is Caesar's," he wasn't talking about your vote. And then, of course, there are those who say, well, if you don't vote, you don't have the right to complain about anything. Well, where in the living word of Elohim does he give us the right to complain about anything? Come on now, that's silly talk. The days of those who say that they are followers of Yeshua voting for quote-unquote the lesser of two evils are over. A day is coming when people who in their heart of hearts will want to protect themselves and their loved ones, and so they will believe that taking a mark will be a lesser evil than starving to death. And how's about this little item here if you want a foretaste of Revelation chapter 13? Venezuela army deployed to control food production and distribution. Sound a bit reminiscent of what old Yohanan told us is coming upon this earth? For those who are dwelling upon this earth at that time, I wonder which one of these two the people of Venezuela would vote for. For a farce this is. Now you might be thinking, oh, but Laban, there have been 7 presidents since Roe v. Wade, and you voted when they had to swear on the living word to uphold abortion. Yes, that's true, I did. But my eyes had not yet been opened. But now they have been opened, and now I can see clearly how blasphemous it is for anyone to swear on a Bible to uphold laws that are strictly forbidden by Elohim to have ever even been written. And do you realize that smack that right in the middle of these two conventions, on the 23rd of July, that day, the 23rd of July, is the 17th of Tammuz, the day that Moses smashed the 10 Commandments before the children of Israel who were worshiping the golden calf that his brother Aaron had formed from their gold. That's right between these two conventions. Coincidence? I think not. Brothers and sisters, I do not know why our Elohim did not open our eyes to this back in the 1970s when the right to murder the unborn in the womb was made the law of the land. But this is 2016, and knowledge has increased. Our eyes have been opened. Our eyes have been opened now to this, to the fact that whoever wins this office must swear to the Elohim of hosts to uphold what is blasphemy in his sight. No excuses anymore. We know. We realize now what they gotta do. No going back to 1973. And even if one of these candidates were to say that they would try to repeal these laws, they would still have to first swear to uphold them until they'd have the opportunity to repeal them. So, Mildred, who's it going to be? Who's going to be your choice? There is no picking the lesser of two evils anymore. That time is past. Perhaps Mildred will argue that since the office of president is a secular office, religion shouldn't enter into it. Oh, separation of church and state, eh? Why then, Mildred, are they swearing on a Bible? Which of these candidates do you believe would consider taking their oath of office on a copy of Darwin's Origin of the Species, huh? I would suggest to Mildred that if she is a follower of Yeshua, to ask herself this question: which of these candidates will use the Bible, the book that they will place their hand on to take their oath of office? Which of these two candidates, Mildred, do you truly believe will use the same book to prove that this should be done away with as a law of the land? Mildred, if you're truly a follower of Yeshua, I believe you should already know the answer to that question. And for anyone out there still confused about what the separation of church and state really means, read this. For the Adon himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet of Elohim, and the dead in Mashiach will rise first. And we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Adon in the air, and thus we shall always be with the Adon. Therefore comfort one another with these words. There, right there, there's the perfect definition of the separation of church and state. Ho ho! Oh, my friends, and you too, dear Mildred, whoever you are, please allow me to say it again. The days of when we did this thing that we actually thought was okay, this voting for the lesser of two evils, but those days are over. And looking back on it now, as believers, how could we have ever thought it was okay? Well, knowledge has increased, and our eyes have been opened, friends. And now we know that this voting for the lesser of two evils was never okay in our Elohim's mighty eyes. Why he allowed his children to do so in the past is something that I suppose we'll find out when we are with him. My only thought is just that it was not yet the time for our eyes to be open to that particular thing. But there's no going back now, is there? Well, no, not to 1973. But I am going to go back to something. Watch that, Laban. Where you going back to? There, the beginning. What do we read here, my friends? Here in Isaiah chapter 46, verse 10. Declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Actually, my friends, what that should say is declaring the end out of the beginning. You see, the end resides within the beginning. That's right. And here's the beginning that we're going to talk about right now. And I believe you will see that we are on a path leading us right back to what I'm going to show you. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I was going to do a video about this months and months ago, but it wasn't time. I know so many of you are tired of hearing Laban saying, oh boy, I was planning this, but Elohim changed it. Well, that's what he does. I know, and we must know that it is in his timing when all things are perfect, when he does all his pleasure. Let us now take a look at something that happened many, many years ago. Something that speaks directly to the state of our world today. A scenario in Scripture that we are all very, very familiar with. Let us read this together, my friends. From the book of beginnings, Genesis, Bereshit, starting at chapter 2, verse 15. And Yahweh Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and to guard it. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, eat of every tree of the garden, but do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall certainly die. And Yahweh Elohim said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him as his counterpart. And from the ground Yahweh Elohim formed every beast of the field and every bird of the Shamayim, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And wherever the man called each living creature, that was its name. So the man gave names to all livestock, and to the birds of the Shamayim, and to the beasts of the field. But for the man there was not found a helper for him as his counterpart. Verse 21. So Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh in its place. And the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, this is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. This one is called woman, because she was taken out of man. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother, and join unto his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, yet they were not ashamed. Chapter 3. And the serpent was more crafty than any beast of the field which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, is it true that Elohim has said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, do not eat of it, nor touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, you shall certainly not die. For Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. Verse 6. And the woman saw that the tree was good for fruit, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of the fruit and ate. And she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made loin coverings for themselves. And they heard the sound of Yahweh Elohim walking about in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim among the trees of the garden. Verse 9. And Yahweh Elohim called unto Adam, and said to him, where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, so I hid myself. And he said, who made you know that you were naked? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? And the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. And Yahweh Elohim said to the woman, what is this you have done? And the woman said, the serpent deceived me, and I ate. And Yahweh Elohim said to the serpent, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock, and more than every beast of the field. On your abdomen you are to go, and eat dust all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel. The word of the living Elohim of all things. Oh, we praise your name on high, our Elohim. So, Laban, what is it about these pivotal passages of Scripture that bring us to somewhat of a screeching halt here in the year 2016? Well, let's take a look at these two verses here, for instance. Verses 21 and 22 of Genesis chapter 2. So Yahweh Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. And the rib which Yahweh Elohim had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. I suppose you're wondering why I was stressing the words I was stressing. Well, I'll tell you. You see, the world and those who are of it, they don't like it this way. Oh no, this is where they draw the line. They would much rather have it read like this. Once there was this thing that was kind of like a screwy-looking fish, and somehow or another it managed to get out of a puddle and turn into a woman. Then Mother Earth, or whatever, gave some sort of magical power to the woman, and she created a stupid idiot that she could make do all her will. She called this dunce man. Now that is exactly the way the world would like to read it. But we know that that's not the way it go. Brothers and sisters, as we also know, the enemy, that old serpent, the devil, he's just got this bent for trying to undo all that Elohim has done, and of course redo them. But he can't. And why's that? Because for one thing, he can't create nothing. Satan can't create a thing. Aside from a lie, he can't even create one grain of dandruff on the top of Nancy Pelosi's head. So he has to mimic everything that Elohim has done. All he can do with this short time that he has left is try and switch things up. That's as far as he can go. Elohim put the man in charge, so the enemy must attempt to switch it up. But no matter what, no matter how many women try to change themselves into men, and vice versa, this will never change. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away. And that is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 35. No matter what this world does, no matter what Satan does, Genesis chapter 3, verses 8 and 9 will never have Elohim walking through the garden in the cool of the day, calling out, "Where are you, Eve?" Never. But that Satan, he's trying his best to get this world to keep calling out for her, isn't he? Ha ha ha! Perhaps on a piece of paper and in the deluded minds of the public at large, men may still appear to be the most powerful people in this country, the United States of the Americas, but oh no, think again. Here's where the power is, people, right here. You are looking at the true arbiters of our foreign and domestic policy here, friends. And what of the power of the purse? Remember with Madam Hillary's good buddy James Carville, whose nickname happens to be Certain Head? Remember what he said that turned the election for her rapist hubby? It's the economy, stupid. So who holds the purse strings of this global, yeah, right, economy? Let's have a look. Now, isn't that reassuring? But I should not talk. I am nowhere near as financially astute as these folks here. So, in light of that, I can only make one suggestion for them. And when we fly across the pond, that's enough, Fritzy.
Okay.
Who do we look to for stability in an ever-changing Europe? Why, none other than Time Magazine's reigning person of the year. Oh, Aunt Angela. And guess what? Let me tell you what. She's got a new body. The surprise of Britain's exit from the European Union is the gift that just keeps on giving. Looky there. A brand new female Prime Minister for Britain. And if Miss May wouldn't have been given the nod, perhaps a man would have succeeded Mr. Cameron. Not. Sorry, Andrea. Maybe next time. And as we know, my friends, come January 2017, Mr. Half-White will not be the only one making an exit. Well, time will tell about that. But this man here, Mr. Banky Moon, is slated to go off into the sunset. And who, pray tell, is the odds-on favorite to replace Mr. Banky as the Secretary General of the United Nothing? Ha ha ha! Oh my goodness, would you get a load of that? It's none other than our old friend, Christiana Figueres. She is now the odds-on favorite to be the first female Secretary General of this august body. But fear not, O Mildred, because if Christiana doesn't make it, well, if they pass Christiana up for a position, these two ladies right here are waiting in line to step in it. And boy, would they be stepping in it. Now, brothers and sisters, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's a done deal that this evil witch is going to win this so-called election, if in fact it does go off. But the ways of this world are certainly conducive to the ways of evil witches. You can certainly see that. And of course we know from scripture that the Antichrist, this personage that the world is waiting for, he will certainly not be a female. But you can bet your bottom euro, which probably ain't far off, that Hasatan is going to be doing his best to get this deluded world to relegate as many women to positions of earthly power as he can in the short time that he has left. That was his plan the minute he stepped into that garden. Satan was not about to approach Adam. Oh no, he knew that his only chance was to go the other way. And well, that is what the enemy does best. Elohim, in his pleasure, decided for the man to come along first. So Satan had to do whatever he could to make him second. And that is exactly what we see happening today, my friends. And this devil, he's real slick too, in that he has exploited the fact that men have not lived up to the standard that Elohim gave them with regard to how women are to be loved as Yeshua loves his bride. And so the world has used the plight of women to relegate their status over that of the man. And boy, has it worked. Check out Obama's personal website. What's the first thing you see? And even the atheists. There's an organization out there called the Sunday Assembly. Have you heard of it? It's a huge atheist church where they get together on Sundays and they tell jokes and sing happy songs. Seriously, it's true. And look who they show you first on their website. Look who they put out front. as soon as you go there. The women. The women. You gotta search around for the men. And this is just a drop in the bucket, people. Oh, my friends, the scriptures, the living word of Elohim has been so manipulated and distorted by this world. How this world says that the Bible relegates women to slaves every time. The women are slaves in the Bible. Ay, ay, ay. Find yourself an Aramaic Hebrew translation of the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 13, and it describes Eve as an equal counterpart to Adam. Come on now. But the UN, the United Nothing, they are the ones shouting from the mountaintops that women are not equal and that they will do everything in their power to bring gender equality about. But most importantly, the United Nations wants the people of this world to know this.
We are going to give your daughter a toilet.
We are going to give your daughter a toilet.
We are going to give your daughter a toilet. We are going to give your daughter a toilet.
Get him out of here. Who's running the world, Mildred? Well, it looks like Beyonce is. And I'm sure Adele's on board with that. And how does the first person ever, a woman, to reach 1 billion YouTube views describe her hero? See how the enemy keeps on trying to crush his heel? It's the end coming out of the beginning. What was that serpent doing his utmost to get Eve to believe? Who does this man think he is? Sound familiar? It sure does to me. It takes me back to the 2016 World Economic Forum and a quote that I recall from that meeting of the world's foremost minds. This quote right here. Men still run the world. I'm not sure it's going so well. Now whose place is she putting herself in? And who is this Sheryl Sandberg? Well, currently, that's right at this very moment, she is the Chief Operating Officer of... Ha ha! That's right. And guess what company is thinking about asking her to possibly become its Chief Executive Officer? Ho ho! What do you know? Then you wish upon a star. Now wouldn't that be something? Par for the course, though. The first ever female CEO of Walt Disney at this time in history. Come on now. And you know, Miss Sandberg also has history with the Queen Bee. Remember that public service campaign? It was called Ban Bossy. Well, that was started by Sheryl Sandberg, and Queen Bee was the major spokesperson for it. Or should I say, spokeswoman? And this campaign was so well received by the world because it taught us all that men are not the only ones who can be leaders. When a man is in charge, he's a leader. But when a woman is in charge, she's bossy. We gotta ban bossy. Well, like I said, the campaign was very well received by the world at large. However, there was one major critic of the campaign. This is what this person called the campaign. They called it stupid. Here's the actual quote. It's so stupid. I find it outrageous and I find it petty. And I find we're so blank uptight in this country that this whole country is being divided. You wanna know who it was? You wanna know who it was that called this thing stupid? Well, let me put it this way. She was dead within 6 months. Stew on that a while. Friends, look around at the state of things. This is perfect timing for a company like Walt Disney to finally have its first female CEO. I mean, consider, after Mickey Mouse himself, what the most profitable merchandise franchise in Disney is at this time. Oh, it's gotta be Star Wars laden, huh? It's Star Wars, right? Wrong! Ha ha! It's the Disney princesses. Boy, oh boy, look at that. They really knocked old Snow White down a few pegs, didn't they? But guess what? Let me tell you what. Just as I was about to move on to another story on Miss Sandberg, I found this. A little over a month ago, she brought out the fact that she don't want to be Disney's next CEO. But fear not, Mildred, because she's on Disney's board of directors, and allow me to show you a little something I stumbled across whilst perusing the website of the latest Sandberg endeavor. It's something she calls leanin.org, and I've been seeing the ads for it all over the internet. They're probably all over the tube as well, with female celebrities galore. See if you can spot one. See what it says up there? Learn how you can support the women and girls in your life. So you see where she's going with this? Well, you just wait. Perhaps in a future video, I'll show you the sponsors/partners she's got on board with this thing. It'll make you sick, because it's just about every company on the face of this earth. But I digress. The issue is what I stumbled across, and it was this. Read this along with me, my friends, if you can stomach this. Announcing an hour of code with Anna and Elsa from Disney's Frozen. And then beneath, encode.org's 1 hour activity. You will learn to write code to help Anna and Elsa create snowflakes and the magical ice craft. Let's say that again. Ice craft. While also learning logic, math, and cultivating creative confidence. Creative confidence. Oi gewollt. Friends, this is not good. Now, I don't care how innocuous or harmless this seems to be, but it's not. My spirit was grieved when I read this. I just felt sick. Oh, Laden, you're jumping to conclusions. Icecraft, that sounds fun. Well, I don't care if you dress up like Edward Scissorhands and carve T-Rex out of a giant popsicle. Listen to what I'm saying. Parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and you too, Mildred, don't let your children anywhere near this satanic trash. Get your kids as far away from anything Disney and this Sheryl Sandberg as you possibly can. This is not Cubby in a Net from the Mickey Mouse Club of the 1950s and 60s. This is evil, pure and simple, and I'll tell you why. Because there is a calculated reason and a purpose for choosing this character Elsa, from this movie Frozen. There, right there. Gay activists lobbied Disney to make Elsa a lesbian in Frozen 2. And let me fill you in on something, my friends. This is no fly-by-night cartoon. Frozen #1 was the highest grossing animated film in all of history. Man, oh man. Let me tell you something, my friends. As I was staring at this disgusting headline, all I could think about was judgment. And during my research for all of this stuff here over the past few weeks, I was looking at the plagues of Egypt. And there was actually a plague that can be associated with that word. It was the 7th plague. The 7th plague. What was it? Hail. And in the book of Revelation, the very last curse to be mentioned, the very last thing to befall those who dwell on the earth is hail. The very last plague of the 7th bowl. Hail. And here is what it says in Yohanan's great book of this hail. Revelation 16, verse 21. And great hail from the Shamaim fell upon men, each hailstone about the weight of a talent. Men blasphemed Elohim because of the plague of the hail, since that plague was exceedingly Great. Is hail coming, my friends? And are we who know what is to befall the world, the only ones warning of this inevitability? Well, let's check with someone who isn't waiting for Yeshua.
Well, it's not quite as cold here in the United States, but we've got our own problems. When I said welcome to the future with massive hailstones, I meant it. As the planet changes more and more, the hail will get bigger, often stick together in superclusters, and with increasing wind speeds, we're talking your skull wouldn't stand a chance. Again, hail that could kill you, welcome to the future.
Welcome to the future. Thank you, Ben. Brothers and sisters, overall, what have we been shown through all of this? We have been shown the absolute, unwavering, and perfect truth of the living word of Elohim. Our Savior, our bridegroom, our Yeshua told us, "For truly I say to you, till the Shamayim and the earth pass away, one jot or one tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah, till all be done." Ha ha ha! Edify, exhort, and comfort one another with those words. Oh, I know how horrible it is to watch this evil seemingly skating along without a hitch. But it's the last and final verse of the Genesis passages we've read that assure us that the ending that comes out of the beginning is a victorious one for those who love Elohim. And brothers and sisters, that little verse right there, "He shall crush your head, and you shall crush his heel," is the fulfillment of all things in a nutshell, especially the one that I am personally longing to see brought to completion, the one where everyone you see on that screen there, everyone you see right there in front of you, will finally realize what the word inclusion really means, as no one will be left behind, because every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Yeshua HaMashiach is the Adon, the King of Kings. The world will be humbled before him, even as those Roman soldiers who in their ignorance thought they were mocking him, when in reality Yahweh was giving us a foreshadow of how even the most powerful worldly entity on earth will bow the knee to the Lamb of Yahweh. And that is our future, Ben. But hey, what was the word uttered by those Roman soldiers when they bowed their knee to the King of Kings?